So up there, it was almost by fluke, by accident, how I ended up in the committees up there. There was no accident how I ended up there. It was through a secondment off the back of completing the IAGDP, Indigenous Australian Government Development Program. Upon completion, you get opportunities on a distribution list, and this one, the secondment came up there, and I turned up there to the furniture project. So in the downtimes, they renovate members' suites and stuff like that, and there's literally limited space up there, so it's moving one desk to a desk space and another, and it was basically just like a massive game of Tetris on a spreadsheet. They were at the back end of that when I sort of arrived on the secondment, and the lead person was about a month away from literal retirement, so pretty much it was very winding down. And then she got me a day in the life of the committee. So went down to the Indigenous Affairs Committee, knocked on the door and sat down, and they were in the middle of a inauthentic art inquiry, all that knockoff art.
Oh yes.
Yep. So they were organising a hearing up in Darwin, and I sort of got thrown, not in the deep end, I dove into the deep end, and yeah, I loved it. It was, did all the well, helped with all that and picking up the skills, and then when it was all organised, all the people up there had all organised, the inquiry secretary came and said, do you want to go up there? You know, you've done the work, do you want to? I'm like, what do you mean, how do I, what's this? Oh no, we send you, it's all. I'm like, this is it, I've made it.
Tropical holidays, 6 months of the year.
It was in the middle of, I think it was very cold here anyway, so I had to go and find shorts.
So what was involved with that inquiry up in Darwin?
So there's the Indigenous art fair that's up there, so all the mobs come in from Central Australia and all that, and it's all that magnificent art that you know gets hung in New York and all that sort of stuff. So they all converge on the Darwin Convention Centre, and it's part of the art. You try and leverage off things like that. This inquiry is to do with the art, so you sort of follow the trail.
Yep.
And then setting up something in remote communities, and that it has its logistical sort of challenges.
Yeah.
So bring the mountain to Muhammad or something, and it was a lot of like liaising with the artists, making sure they're all comfortable, because it's, I mean, bottom line, it's government. You're talking to the mob, and it's just like, I sort of dressed down for the occasion. I sent my partner a picture of me. She's like, you look like a government worker. Not trying to look like a government worker.
How quickly you fit in, right?
Yeah. Or you don't fit in. Yeah, they can tell.
But it was good because it was, I don't know, growing up in community and that, like English was some of their second language sort of thing, and they sort of weren't sure about it, so you put the professionalism aside and you're just like, go on, get in here, go and rouse on them, and that was also liaising with the members. The first time I met sort of an MP was Warren Snowden. Mr. Snowden, how are you? My name's Warren, use it. And I'm like, that's how you have your barriers, I guess, your safety. I'm like,
professionalism.
Yes. I'm like, yes, Mr. Snowden, no worries. So he was up there, and he's well loved up there.
Right. Yeah.
And did that. That was probably the most frantic sort of 2 days of sort of so far. Oh no, there's another day. But that was just high paced, and you fed off that. Members were happy. That was always a good thing. Mob were happy. And you sort of got the inner workings of like, you always hear about inquiries on TV, there's an inquiry into this, and then I've never really thought about what happens after that.
Yeah.
Now I know what happens after that, so.
Yeah.
And yeah, loved it. Came back and ended up getting a offer a contract for the Life of the Parliament, which again they were getting the hooks in, and 3 days later the spill happened. So the Life of the Parliament was pretty much over, and I just went, is that me? I didn't realise that I had a job to fall back on at MBVA where I came from. So I just thought I had the shortest contract and and I've done myself out of a career or a job. But yeah, and just what's the next thing? When I got back, sort of debriefed and give me the next thing. So and the team up there was amazing. Louise sort of helped me through it, and do what I say, not what I do, sort of. And it's you adapt up there, which is every member's different, have their different sort of niches, and then you got witnesses on top of that, which are they're doing things for free for the community. Basically, we're not paying them to come and talk to us. So that's the balance there, and I sort of fish in water with the sort of liaison and stuff like that. Probably too much of liaising. But yeah, that was what got me into the committees, I guess. And then.
So that's what interests you, the ability to reach out outside of your organisation, institution, to different communities.
I think so, yeah.
And build bridges. Is that how you sort of see your role?
Yeah, and to sort of to expose the committee work. Like we're not doom and gloom. We're not the dooming government. Yous are the rock stars here. We want to hear from you. And I guess the level of professionalism up there, it gives you that, I guess, drive to get out of bed. And then that sort of, I don't know, you always got a bit of pride in your step when you sort of like getting dressed today. And that you can't let it slip, which sort of builds your own, I guess, character up, your confidence up.
You're dealing with national issues, dealing with...
It's a pinch yourself sort of... when I first came to Canberra, I went out to the Mint and we're heading back in, we saw the flagpole. And the person in the car with me, I'm like, wonder what you got to do to work there. And...
Funny you asked that.
Yeah. That was not even a blip on my radar. That was I didn't even basically know that the House of Reps had that department behind it. I thought it sort of, they opened it up and blew the dust off before every sitting and closed it back up. But yeah, you got a broad range of sort of, I guess, content up there too. Nothing's ever the same. And I don't know, I'm a sitting geek now, so sort of the question times and stuff like that sort of, that's always a draw card. So I did the math. I think I've only had 5 jobs, but it feels like the life of some people ask, double check how old I am, and like, you've got a life of like a 90-year-old man or something like that. So I'm a landscape gardener by trade. So chainsaws, shovels, bobcats, all that sort of stuff, which is always fun. You never really have a dull day on that. And I was at a retirement village for 10 years. Got plenty of adopted grandmothers and grandfathers and rumballs and whatnot, and over Christmas. And so yeah, I was digging holes. I made a sea change prior to that. Came out of high school and went to the DPP, the Public Prosecutions, through my dad's in the Aboriginal Legal Service, or was. And schoolies was coming up, and the schoolies like, you want a job? I'm like, suppose I'm going to have to. And in school uniform, I went in and sat down. Didn't even really know what this interview was going to be about. They said, when can you start? I said, I've got schoolies, and then I'll start. So 5 years there, I was their sort of Department of Justice. As a 17-year-old, that was a bit, wow, this is what it's all about. First suit at 17. And then went over to the sort of, needed a CJ, so let me get on the end of a chainsaw. But life was good. It's a different sort of exhaustion.
Yeah.
Up here to that physical, yeah, you can lift cement bags all day and sort of get home and rest, but that making that change to then come down here, it's that mental exhaustion. You're sort of always on. Your legs are tired, but just from not moving. But the program that I came down on was very. They sort of orientated you to you're going to be in government. This is, and they give you the sort of onboarding of the conflicts of interest and what to prepare for, and so you sort of went into this. We're all little fish coming into this big, I guess, federal space, and you get your tag, and away you go. And next thing you got contracts worth $100,000 and stuff like that. And I was terrified. But again, it was like on a national basis, so that was sort of the hook in that too. It's just like, this is going to affect not just around the corner. This is going to resonate, over the other side of the country.
Yeah.
It was partly a push also. So my supervisor at the retirement village, he's an older fellow, creaky knees and backs, and he's like, Benny, you got a big brain on you. Don't be like me and just dig holes all your life. Get out and use your head. And he sort of kept on pushing, and I'm like, I was in my nice little comfortable, right, I had my own little buggy, and he put me onto that program. I had no idea about this program. And then reading onto it, 80% of people had to relocate to down here, which was, I was 30 odd something there. I'm like, geez, I've got to put my big boy pants on sometime, and I filled it out. I had a pretty good flatmate at the time. He helped me through that, and he's like, yeah, mate, this is going to be awesome, and sent it in and regretted it sort of for that week after. Just going, what if I get it? What if I don't get it? What if I back to square one, or at square one in a different town? Or, but I think you just got to, no one's going to do that for you. No one's going to hand you something and then you sort of go, oh, thanks, and just sit in there. You got to go get it, I think. That's the sort of courage there. I don't expect anyone to do anything like that for me, so I don't expect anything coming, so the only way I know something's coming is if I'm going after it. So yeah, well, all my family, Dad,
nice.
He's pretty straightforward, just pretty straight cut. I rang him up when I had that first contract.
What was his reaction?
He's like, boy, that's nothing.
Great.
You're in government, you're in federal government. What's that? That's not even, how many zeros is that? Just get it done and make sure it's right. I'm like, fair, thank you. And he's straight up the middle, I guess. He's not, oh, watch out for these fellas, or, my sister probably wouldn't lean too much up the middle advice. But getting her support was sort of a big kicker, because I don't know, anything, she's sort of fighting for the underdog sort of person. Don't worry about the big corporates or anything like that, or the government or stuff like that. And yeah, you get all these messages every now and then random, and we didn't talk that much as it was, and it was just like, oh, it's a bit mushy, this is and she would also, I don't sort of do too much social media about work and stuff like that, but the bits and pieces that I would do, it's then I'm getting calls from my auntie or something like that, my sister's spread all over the. So there was good support there. And Dad checks in probably twice a week. Forgets what day it is. Sometimes you ring at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night or something. What are you doing? I'm like, Dad, I'm sleeping. We're going to work tomorrow. What's today? Yeah, that's probably the family's been, especially the move away too. That was, they've all eventually come down. Dad doesn't fly, and he flew down with my sister who doesn't fly, and that's always a bit of a chuff moment, taking people behind the scenes up there because I work up there. It's
privileged access.
Yeah. And it's going back to family too. They sort of, they know that they'll introduce you to someone else and go, oh, he works at Parliament. That's part of the introduction. You're just like, no, worry about it.
That's how they introduce you when you go back home.
Yeah. They've been talking about me to one of their friends or something, and you finally meet that friend and go, this is Benny, this is a fellow who works at Parliament.
Nice. Good stuff.
Oh, I was more of an observant follower. Ready to step up in leadership sort of back home. I was just sort of, football was a big sort of draw card for me there. I was going to be a professional footballer as far as I was concerned. I wasn't going to the DPP, I wasn't going to come down and work here. I was going to, score tries and whatnot. Quick reality check on that.
You got tries you got different kinds of tries now.
This is it, yeah. Political footballs. And there's some leadership there through the football that helped with coaching and stuff like that. There's another, actually he was my mentor, another Indigenous fellow there, who then got me to assistant coach with him. And that was it was interesting to see the different dynamics of, because he also does boarding house, Indigenous liaison, and the way he talks with the mob and then other kids. The other kids would be like, yeah, you got to do this, and then he'd just get fair up the other. But that's that connection that he's built, that sort of, they trust him and they understand that that's just him talking to them by him saying, go and, do this, do that. Where if he did that to some other kids, I'd probably get upset. So seeing sort of how he navigated that space was sort of also a good, stepping stone. And then coming down here is where the leadership sort of kicked off, with the Indigenous networks. That's pretty embedded in the government departments, and end up being the chair of the Strengthening Connections at MDVA. There's only 3 or 4 of us there. And that was sort of that first sort of, big chairing role, because that was under Department of Agriculture too. And then you got these people sort of coming to you or emailing you, and you can't sort of let that, you self-check yourself and go, well, if that was me sending it, I'd want a response,
Yeah.
This is where I've got to, and you do, you make time, you fill in the gap, you be reliable, and then that sort of, it becomes business as usual sort of thing.
Yeah.
You're having meetings before you know it. You've had a meeting and you didn't know it. And then, so coming into then the ABH, that was sort of it was partly defaulted to me. So 25 Indigenous employees up there, 24 are in DPS, and I'm in reps. So the DPS sort of oversees the network.
Yep.
And part of an arm's length, sort of no meddling in the network business, not that there is, the role sort of was asked of me because I'm in reps, so DPS doesn't really have too much jurisdiction. And the previous chair was on her way out, and apparently said, yeah, I've been sort of watching you, I think you'd be a good fit. And again, there's a part of that leadership, you've got to step up, especially for mob. If no one's going to step up, who's going to step up? So leading by example, I think, was is a part of sort of my, I don't know, mantra, I guess. And out of all this, I think I've developed I never say no to, I guess, work-related stuff. I've found that that's sort of opened up opportunities. It's realised, it's set the environment as to where I am on a scale. And it's, I don't know, it sort of encourages that good work ethic. It can get you a lot of work, not saying no, but it also can get you upskilled. So yeah, that's, and apparently supervisors really like that. I think it's that building that relationship beforehand. So out of that was so we've had a bunch of workshops with people who sort of to create the wrap, the actions, and the content of it, and that's from all 4 departments. That can be anyone and everyone. So these people are coming in, and it's wraps are, well, they're to reconciliate, but they help, they benefit Indigenous people, and I guess up there that it was critical to have Indigenous input up there.
Of all places, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So one was sort of getting the network comfortable to come to the workshops and stuff like that, because a lot of them up there, they just keep their head down, do their job. They don't want to cause a fuss or anything like that, but they're brilliant. Got to get them out of that shell sort of thing. And all meetings up there in these big daunting committee room, what you see on, the Minister Wong sort of scene, you walk into those rooms and they sort of, even empty, they're sort of a bit overwhelming, but you fill out all those desks then of unknown faces of, it can also sort of scare people. So building that with the network for them to be able to attend, that was one of the key. And then prior to that, we always say, like, if you have any question or anything like that, even if it's an embarrassing one, even if it's like is it an acknowledgement of country, is it a welcome, there's no stupid questions. We make that pretty clear. You can come to the network. And we sort of had that space during those workshops from those colleagues. And they said, forgive me for being ignorant or something. Just like, no, mate, you're not ignorant. You're asking the question right now. So creating that environment, I think.
Feeling of safety.
Yeah. That it wasn't going to be the bottom line, we're working towards a good thing here. We might have to go through the mud to get there, but, and yeah, I think that was to be approachable, to be, and to be honest too, like if I didn't know anything, I wasn't going to speak just sort of off the cuff, or on behalf of mob or something like that. And it was just simple things like that people didn't know, like, I can't speak for these people, that's their sort of business, and it's not that people are ignorant or anything like that, it's just that sort of situation never comes along in their lifestyle. So sort of when you open them up to that, they almost want more. So what else you got? So yeah, and now I see those people in the corridors and stuff like that, and they're exactly where you kind of, 5 minutes of a meeting with, and you're in a hallway talking for 15 minutes or having a coffee with them. And, so that's the benefits of it, I guess, now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get the network to sort of understand that as well, the new starters and stuff like that. So get your face out there.
Yeah.
So then they know your face, and then it'll benefit you.
It's the formal networking and then the informal corridor conversations.
Yeah.
The informal corridor conversations.
I was speaking, so the rap champ was for DPS. He was acting deputy secretary up there, and I had a meeting the other day with another person. I'm like, oh yeah, James would know about that, and they went, James, oh no, he's like the big boss. I'm like, yeah, no, he'd be fine. And then it sort of, the light went off and it's like, oh yeah, this is the time you get, sort of. Yeah, so that's probably the highlight there. I want to hand on the chairing role to a young blood, a young up and comer. Get them to sort of take over, because they got fire in the belly, those fellas, and I realise how old I am when I'm growling at YouTube or TikTok or something like that, and bloody kids, and then I realise, oh no. But to hand that on, give them that opportunity, and ultimately I'd like to be a committee secretary, specifically of Indigenous Affairs, be like the first secretary of Indigenous Affairs Committee, which I think would be pretty tough. The old man would be pretty proud of that. He might read one of the reports that we actually do now. I give him every report that we write and table, and ask him if he's read it, and he's like, nah, too long. So I've got this, you train up and you train down. This is sort of a bit from footy, sort of, you got to know, train up so you can go up, and train down so that person can come up as well. And if you build that sort of environment, you won't be scared of them taking your role. You'll create the environment that they like a trusting environment there. There'll be so have patience, I'd say too, especially up there. And I guess, I don't know, be reliable. That's my biggest. Always reply to those emails, always get things by that COB or other departments and stuff like that. You might be able to let, but just up there, that underneath that roof, you got there's 2,500 clocks up there ticking, and everyone knows what time it is up there. And when you, I don't know, it can be a little bit superficial up there. If you get a smudge against that reliability, it can be not detrimental, but it can, I don't know, it can make things longer. So yeah, be reliable, be genuine and honest, because you get found out if you're telling fibs, you'll get found out. So, and there's people up there that, no matter how controversial it is, they'll listen, they'll take it on board, or how opposite it is to the current situation up there. The beauty of that place is, yeah, it's a space to sort of air that, and there's actually, I guess, people up there that sort of process that. They don't just blow up and you're against me, so let's walk off. Maybe in that political spectrum they probably do, but and lean on your resources, I guess, of the network that you lead. Identify your key, I guess, network members. They're the ones who, you know, good at drafting, you know, good at this and that, and lean on them. If they're a part of the network, that's almost a commitment to utilise those ICS. If you're a part of the network and you've got some skills, I'm going to use them, sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. After The Voice, sort of.
Yeah.
I was filled with surprise.
Yeah.
But also up there, it's, you see, you interpret stuff a lot differently up there now. So there's that, you hear people speaking and stuff like that, and I don't know if it's tainted, sort of, that view now, but you know what they're saying behind that now with the talk and stuff like that. But I mean, this current government, I think, gives me hope. And I think there's work to be done. There's plenty of work to be done. And now more and more people are coming on board on that, I guess, that reconciliation journey. And that's a two-way street too. That's a come with us, you know, let's do it together, not come over here. And it's getting more and more, I guess, visible. This sort of reconciliation space, and people you get the opposition that do opposition stuff, not opposition, but just the
nature of the political.
Yeah, and just in the world too, people just are natural opposers of stuff, which is fine. But it's, yeah, I think it's, I'm not worried. And I think that there's with this sort of growing reconciliation space, hopefully they will catch a few kids' eyes and they'll want to step up and do the better themselves, and hopefully become future leaders too. But people are listening to other people and taking that as
the gospel.
Too much, far too much. It's just like, you gotta do your own sort of
thinking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know, that social media is good. This is where I look old. When they blocked the news on Facebook and everyone blew up and said, how am I going to get the news and stuff like that? I'm like, I didn't understand that people were going through Facebook to get their news. I'm like, just go to the source. That was, so that's, yeah, that didn't help The Voice or anything like that though. But at least here was, ACT was, people read books here.
It's interesting, right? I think it's, I think perhaps in the ACT we're familiar with the model.
Yeah.
We know what the model entails, you know.
Yep.
It's a bureaucratic model, so we understand it. You know?
It wasn't frightening, and I think we understood, what it meant.
And I had mob on both sides. I had family on both sides of the fence. And some of them even rang up and we had a good yarn, a good firm yarn with each other, trying to push each other's sort of point across. And I'm like, look, brother, we'll agree to disagree. I mean, you see it on the news on a $5 note when you look out the window or something like that. Sort of, it's work, but I still look at it as like that. It's that Parliament has that award-winning structure of a building with, and people. I always go for a walk out the front, sometimes just to run lunch off. But you see the people first timers coming in there, it's like, oh wow, and you got to remind yourself that this is Parliament.
Yeah.
There's a sense of awe, but also welcome.
Yes.
It's I mean, the security now, but you don't get the sense that this is only for special people. It's
I still feel that.
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel that when you go there?
Yeah.
I always feel
it's
special and
awesome place,
welcomed
but it's
and awe.
welcome,
Yeah.
Even more so with the speaker of the house now. He's, which there's more access to literally his suite. They filmed Total Control with Deborah Melvin up there. So my cousin's one of the co-directors of that. So that we got the network in to help
Terrific.
chaperone people around and got to hang out with Deborah Melvin to talk her down after she got a bit excited in one scene. She's like, "You got to talk me down. You got to talk me down." And it was a scene where she had a bit of a tumble or something. She had blood all over and stuff like that. And apparently someone got wheeled out on a gurney. And I don't know if you've seen Naked Gun, one of those real old movies where the gurney goes up. She just had that in her head apparently, and she was just in hysterics. So we literally had to take her off to the side and sit down and just tell me something like serious.
Yeah, once it's in your head, you can't forget it.
Yeah. So that was unreal. But they had access. This next season they filmed up there, and they wanted access to the speaker's suite. And part of all his morning teas and stuff like that is he always says, I don't see this as my office, I see this as the people's office, or
Nice.
and he's very open to dragging people through for tours and stuff like that. And
Because he's got a private kitchen and a dining room as well, right? In his suite.
An ambassador's lounge offset of that, and his own courtyard.
Yeah.
And he hosts a lot of charities. He just had Fred Holloway's foundation. He does afternoon teas and stuff like that for charities, and I usually liaise with the local mob to get them in for welcome to countries and stuff like that. And so I was getting some pretty good afternoon teas from the speaker's office. So I'm a Yubara man from up Mackay, sort of Serena way.
Right. Yeah.
Saltwater people apparently, but I don't like the beach.
It's probably a wise thing to be away from the beach.
Yeah, being a landlocked. I've just never been. I mean, when I've gone to the beach, I've been stung by sea lice and sand everywhere and sticky. And if I look at sand, I'll get it in my ears, sort of stuff. And then sort of looking back on them, it's like saltwater people, really?
There's always generalizations, right?
So that's I don't really know my sort of connection to it because I was adopted out from up there.
Right.
So that was I see it as that was the first country that I was born on. I guess my feet would have went down on.
Yeah.
So Dad, I dog like to call him Dad. His mob's Cobble out in Chinchilla way.
All right.
So Megan Davis, the Uluru Statement.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's Cobble too. So that's one Dad's mob.
Very.
And so I sort of run the lines with him.
Is he still in Mackay?
No, he's in Harvey Bay.
Harvey Bay.
Yeah.
Oh, retired now.
Yeah, partly. He still goes into I don't know if they just entertain him to.
Okay.
Still goes back to work and going back to work to do the books or something like that.
Right. Okay.
Keeps active.
Keeps active. But so they, but my uncle's I think the knowledge holder at the moment, and he's a free spirit sort of cobblestone. They had a band put together and with mob and stuff like that. So. Mental break from work is actually my BMX.
All right. Yeah.
So, got gifted during COVID. A work colleague got married and had to move into the marital home, and he builds BMX bikes, but he had to downsize. He's like, I got no room. Do you want a bike? Yeah, hell yeah. And then you got that 1 hour window of exercise during the lockdown. So I thought, I might as well give it a spin. I can't put it down. Like, it's
Terrific.
Where's your local BMX track?
Oh,
Melba,
so I'll go home like and go to bed at 6 o'clock, and then like wake up at midnight and go for a ride around
Wow.
in the streets. So I'd just ride around the streets, you know, drop downstairs and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
It's very hard to do that at 5 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon with foot traffic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're coming around blind corners and you can, you know, there's 15 public servants and you just bowl
I
over.
I know.
There goes Ben again.
Yeah,
That's right. The national institutions are pretty good. Like, they probably would
Yeah, lots of
encourage
stuff.
you to be around there, but some of
A&U is pretty good.
Yeah.
But so I go for, in the middle of the night, go for a ride. And in winter I wear like a buff, get the attention. You're 1 o'clock in the morning on a BMX, police drive past.
Wow.
I was working for the road safety committee during one of the questionings, and they jumped over the gutter and they stopped in front of me. What are you doing? I'm like, just riding around, mate, staying out of trouble. And what are you doing? I'm like, mate, I'm probably doing everything against this road safety report I'm drafting up. And they just went, see you later.
That's good.
But yeah, that's a good, because you just got to be so on up there. You just need that. Dad's always telling me to, have you sold that and grown up yet? And he's always telling me to get rid of it, because I've had a few stacks and stuff like that. But it's that release that you need, because you're so on up there.